Welcome back. We're here with the author of Right Now, the Book of Odd, a new perspective for this reality. His name is Mr. Todd R. LeBlanc. He is a seasoned lab manager with a 3-decade career focused on space laboratories, and Todd's expertise spans electronics, fabrication, integration, testing, manufacturing, and metrology. But what we're here to talk about today is his book called The Book of Odd, which talks about the small world we call home. He gets into DNA folding, the secrets of the universe, and so much more about how we can construct a future that is not only brighter, but also more purposeful and profoundly fulfilling. It gives you a new perspective. We'll talk about it. So Todd, glad to be speaking with you.
Well, thank you, Robert. It's glad to be here. And, I just listened to your, how you did my book, the audio version of the book, and you did it amazing. I'm just so glad that we worked together, and it was, you did a great job.
Well, thank you very much. And just to get everyone caught up, so you're an author, you have this book, and then I narrated your book into audiobook form for Audible. But then what I like to do at that point is say, there's never enough self-promotion, right? There's never enough talking about yourself and your book and your business and repetition. So that's why we're here on a podcast, to put it in podcast land, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, cut it up for social media, all that cool stuff. And so as far as this book, so I introduced it a little bit, but I think only you can do it justice as far as who it's for and what it does.
Well, this book is about everything, and it's for everyone. I had a few questions, and I like to write down my questions, and I like to write it in an article style. And the big 2 questions that I had starting off with was, what is time, and what is DNA? And those 2 subjects I thought I had a pretty good idea on. And I wrote a bunch of essays on them. And the more I talked about them, the more I read about them, the more I did more research, the more just absolutely amazing. And they were absolutely miraculous things. Time is this thing that it's right in front of us. It's birthdays and weddings and paychecks. But time is much more personal than that. It's our perception of a reality. It's how we see the world. And DNA isn't just this thing, this blueprint. It's this living embodiment of life. And the more I learned about these 2 subjects, the more questions I had. And I delved into it deep. I went really deep. I started talking about what is information, what is gravity. And I wanted to write a book that was very approachable and very understandable. I didn't want to just hit everybody with science. I wanted to hit people with just the experience. And that's what science is. People always get this wrong about science. People always think that science is this magic or this thing that people, huddle away from and hide. But science is just sharing. It's just talking about what things are, writing it down, keeping good notes, testing it, and then reviewing it. Does it work out? Does it work out again? Can you share it? Can someone else do it? And that's all science is. And I think science lately has gotten a bad rap. And I'm here to hopefully help people understand that science isn't a bad thing. It's part of being human. Science is just like, I remember I was at a book writing signing at Indigo, and a lady came up to me. I'm at my booth trying to sell my book, and I sold 11 books that day, and I earned every one of them. It was a tough sell. But she walked right up to me and she says, "You know what? I don't believe in science." And I'm like, well, that's how things are. I agree, to disagree, and we can understand each other. Let me ask you, what are you here for? Like, why did you come into Indigo to this day? And she said, I'm getting a cookbook. And I told her, I said, a cookbook is just chemistry. You write down a few ingredients, you have an oven, you have a timer, and you prepare things. A cookbook's basically a chemistry textbook. It's just one way of sharing information with another human being. And we shared a coffee and we had a few laughs, and it is just, it is Science is just part of being human. It's like, what is science? What's religion? What is, you know, what is politics? It's just a human expression of what we think's going on, and how can we make plans to improve it. Um, and I'm very sorry I went on a little bit of a tear there, but um, I get excited when we start talking about putting science or how people try to understand the world and write it down and sort of explain it to other people and share. And that's what I tried to do with the book. I really wanted to write down, what is gravity, what is DNA, what is time, and what is information, and how can we learn from it. And I wanted to really, really encourage other people to find your own questions. Question the reality that we live in. It doesn't make perfect sense, and that's okay. It's okay that it doesn't make sense. But what is not okay is that you just accept that it doesn't make sense. You have to move to action. You have to learn about something. And you don't have to learn about everything, but what's important to you? Um, People always question, things like, what's my purpose? What's the purpose of this? And I think that people get caught up on things that are just a little bit too complicated. And I think we really just need to really look inward. And life is actually quite simple. It's about relationships. It's about sharing. It's about, family and friends. It's about growing. It's about expanding. And it's about experiencing joy. And I really and truly believe that with gratitude and curiosity, you can really expand your ability to enjoy life around you. And I find that absolutely important.
That's beautiful, and there's so much to think about. And going on a tear is great, right? Because then it means I can pick and choose that. And it seems like there's just like life is kind of absurd, right? And it is kind of meaningless, right? In a few centuries, anything that you see or know, it will be gone. But then also at the same time, there is a lot of meaning to it just because it is so finite, right? And because all you do have is the now and the moment. And it seems like from a lot of these things that you've said here, these little stories, is like there's a value in like the right sizeness of things, right? Like if you say, well, I don't believe anything I see, let me just pile in all these questions, you wouldn't get anything done, right?
Yeah.
Versus if you said, well, hey, here's what I've learned so far and I'm stuck in my ways, I refuse to learn anything else. They say that 40% of people don't read a book after high school. They say that 25% of the population reads at a 6th grade reading level. We need to put in the pressure and like the effort to learn more and be more curious. But then there's like too much and there's not enough, right? There's like this size. And yeah, some of these things that you mentioned, like science, it just keeps on like piling up. And then like I don't think we even knew about dinosaur bones till 1824, right? They were there, but then we said, hey, there's this new information, and then we kind of like build on what we know, and then relativity comes out, and then quantum physics comes out, and so there's it's always in motion, and so we have to like hang on tight and figure out what some of these things mean. And it is kind of trippy to think about, right? Like, well, time, what we think of as time, mostly it's just how we chop it up, right? We say, well, there's the year going around the sun, and the month is the moon, and we cut up our day and our week, and a lot of it's just abstracted to try to make sense of it. And then there's like, well, the older you get, it seems like the more time speeds up, right? You have your own relativity, and then when you're a kid, that summer felt like it was half your lifetime, because it sort of was. But then once
Mhm.
you're 40s, 50s, 60s, and you see the kids and the grandkids growing up, you're just like, whoa, like a week passed and it was like a year. And so there's a lot to figure out, but we can't stress out too much. We need to have fun. And so your book reminded me of like one Christmas, my mom got me like a Neil deGrasse Tyson book, and he's so fun, isn't he? He's just like, check out, wow, here's all this cool stuff about space. But as you said, you kind of go deeper, right? You also go into the magicalness and the personal philosophy. And I mean, like, tell us about that. What is maybe the average person missing out on when they're just like so caught up in the day-to-day, the work, and they miss out on the kind of their own internal growth? I mean, educate us.
Well, and you said it right. And I'd like to add on that. One of the things that I think people forget is how much power they have. a lot of people, you know, they get overwhelmed with science and science facts and the world and running around trying to get a paycheck, trying to get that promotion, trying to, you know, get the bigger house and the nice car. None of it really means anything. Obviously, it means something because we're all human beings. But the things that we have, the things that we can share, are actually more important. The conversations, the smiles, the handshakes, the friendships that you have at work. You know, people are always stressing out over, you know, deadlines or this mistake or that mistake. But you'll remember the handshakes. You'll remember the warm smiles. You'll remember when you walked into a room and people remembered who you were and they were very happy to see you. Those are the things that are important to us. And those are the things that make us humans, and they make us happy. And I think people forget how much power they have. Not only like that, you can't control everything. You can't control how much money or that sort of thing, but you can control yourself. You can control what you do and how you interact with the world, and it can make a big difference. Smiling, being polite, being honest. You know, these might sound like they're religious philosophies, but they're more than that. They're something that makes living and being a human being worthwhile. Um, I'm from Canada, so sometimes we have these big snowstorms, and it's not a time to cry. It's a time to go out and meet your neighbors, to help them shovel their walks, and to get together, shake their hands, you know, work together to accomplish something. And it is so important for human beings to have that connection. The things that we care or think we care about really don't have that much value. And the things that really do make human beings happy, we have a lot of control over it. And it's a lot of, enjoying yourself, educating yourself. You don't have to be, read a book. If you're interested in biology, if you're interested in orchids, if you're interested in anything, auto mechanics, read about it. Become an expert in a field. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be baking biscuits. It could be anything. I love a good biscuit. I'll give you that much. And it's all about, really finding your niche. What makes you happy? How can you celebrate your strengths? And that's where people have power. That's where people have, the ability to make changes. And that's one of the few things that I think people have. And it's one of the realizations that I had writing this book is we do have power over our choices. We have power over our chances or choices of making decisions. We have power over our own morality. We can choose to be honest. We can choose to be dishonest, and it's choice. It's one of these things that human beings have. We have the power to make choices, and we can make good choices or we make bad choices. But if you make good choices, you'll be happier as a person. And that kind of happiness can go forward. It can be shared. It's one of these few things that this world can share. They tell you money can't buy happiness. Or another good quote is, you can't take it with you. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, they're not talking about love, because love is something that you can take with you. You can, I still remember my grandfather, and he was a great man. And I don't remember because he made a lot of money or what kind of car he drove. I remember him because he was a good grandfather to me when I was his grandson. And that's the kind of thing that will give him immortality. The only real immortality human beings can ever have is in capturing and building on those moments.
Well, I love your ideas. I love your philosophy that perhaps people need to flip the script, right? They have it backwards. They think that all these outside things, that's what I need to work on. That's what I have control over. And I mean, your house can get hit by an asteroid tomorrow, right? You can get creamed by a semi-truck later today. But what you do have control over, and as you're saying, perhaps we have more control than we think over our emotions and over our reactions and over our thoughts and over the people that we connect with, people that we help, and that we owe it to ourselves to pursue this sort of enrichment. And especially in this day and age, right? Because computers kind of messed this up a little bit. internet messes up even more. Now with all the AI stuff, anything is accessible, and it's easy to get lost in the sea of information, or to just let your emotions get the best of you. And so we need to be thinking and pursuing this message that is delivered in your book. And so let's say there's someone out there in podcast land or in YouTube land, and they've heard about your book, or they heard about your name, and they've Googled, and they've ended up here in our conversation. And a lot of what we do in life is just all these little micro commitments, right? Well, I saw this trailer for this movie and I'm going to go see it. And so if someone is curious about the Book of Odd, is there like one idea or one aspect of it in particular that's just really juicy and exciting and just would send someone running to buy the book?
Well, the moment that really shook me was when I came to the realization that, you know, the past doesn't really exist. It only exists in our minds. And the future is something that only exists as probabilities. It's this right now. That's all we have. And everything that was going to happen in the future, all our future events are all based on our decisions and our information that's in this moment. And we have control over it. It's up to us to make a difference. And collectively, you know, if we're all pulling in the same direction, we can move mountains. And it really inspired me to understand that what we need to do is we need to communicate with one another. We have to show each other that we respect and that we really think that they have value. And if we all become experts in whatever field we're experts in, you know, we all, you know, it's not all about programming. It's not all about, you know, the physicists or the, you know, the guy that's good with electronics. It's not that. It's about what is good as a human being, what makes us special, and celebrating that amongst everyone. And when you realize that the power that we have to build tomorrow, it starts today. It gave me a great hope that, you know, if I can get this message out, if I can get this to people to understand that they do have control over what happens in their lives. And if we all work together, we can make a difference. And one of the most important things, that the reason I wrote the book was one of the things was to convince myself of this. And I think I did write a pretty good summary, and I hope I convinced myself. So hopefully I can convince other people that this time, this moment is very important, and you have to fill it with the things that are valuable. Don't worry about the things that are not important. Worry about the things that are valuable and truly valuable, not diamonds and gold. It's people, friendships, learning, beauty, art, love. These are the things that you have to fill in your life. Just cram them you can pull together and hold on to them tight. And that's what we have. That's, as human beings, that's our power. And I think we lose that power when we become greedy or start to chase things that don't have any value to our soul. And I think that's what we really need to do, is we need to find what is important to us, what is important to that makes me happy, and really go out there and try to do it. And hopefully the book does inspire people to ask questions. You said it before, and you know, that we live in an absurd universe. It doesn't make complete sense. There's flaws all over the place. And I'm not saying that the flaws are something to pick on or to point to. I'm saying that these are important clues that tell us that this is an assembly. It's being built right now. It's not. Maybe it looks like it's under construction, but it is under construction. And we do have the power and the ability to make changes.
Well, very nice. So as far as the future, right? Like you say that you examined all these things and you wrote the book that almost like you wish you would have had, right? That kind
Yep.
of and like solidified these sort of things, because even before we started recording, we talked about this idea that memory is so inaccurate and so fleeting. And so if you say, well, I'm trying to convince myself how important the now, the moment is, and I put it in words, I put it in writing, that's something that now it's solidified, right? It's not just something where it's some idea in my head. And you think of how many people out there have an idea or want to write a book or have something to say, but it kind of like dances around your head, and it's like remains fluid, and then it goes away. And it's like, you need to get it down there. You need to create it physically. And so, speaking to that, what is the future in store for you? Are you going to be doing more promoting of this book, a new book, something else? What are you excited about in that cloud of probabilities and possibilities?
Well, I'm very excited about learning. I'm in AI myself, and it is I work in labs, and it's the most important part about working in scientific labs is you get to meet really smart people and learn from them, talk to them, ask them questions. And I've had the privilege and the honor to have that available to me my whole life. And I'm not going to tell you I'm the smartest guy in the whole wide world, but I have talked to very smart people, and I've tried to learn from them. And it was always a great learning opportunity. And for me, the future is going to hold me learning more, expressing myself better, maybe doing a better job at sharing and being a better person. And that's a job that never goes away. You can do that your whole life. And to tell you the truth, as you get older, it is easier to really look at yourself in a more reflective way, perhaps some wisdom. And, you know, I might sound like I have some wisdom now, but that's only because I've spent a whole lifetime just trying to make as many mistakes as possible. And that's how you learn. That's how you become wise. You're not born wise. The wisest people in the whole wide world are the ones that were once fools. And as soon as you figure it out, that, oh man, that's foolish. That's when you become wise. It's not something that you gain overnight. It's something that you gain the hard way. And writing this book showed me that what we're doing, this all the rules, gravity, all the constants and all the variables of the universe, they're absurd. They're random. They're arbitrary. They don't make sense. And to me, it says, this is amazing. That means that it's still a work in progress. It's not done. It's not finished. Whatever you think you have, it's not done. You have the opportunity to improve. And to me, it gives me great optimism that, I still have a good kick at the can, or several kicks at the can ahead of me. And I can make myself better. I can learn more. I can do a better job at being me. And I can really promote my skills and my expertise. I love working with teams. I like working with people. I like working with people who are learning, how to do things. And I love to learn with them. To me, training and learning and experiencing the wonderful world that we have in front of us. In my case, I work in a scientific laboratory, and I love it. And there's this boundless optimism, and not to shut that boundless optimism down. You really have to encourage it. You have to give the environment where that optimism can thrive, where people can grow and be happy, and really promote everything. And I do mean everything. I mean, like, the human race, society, the country, the whole Western world, everyone. And the human race right now is at a special time. There's never been more people that are as educated as they are now. The world has never been so literate as it is right now. There's never been more people who have learned to read and write, that go to libraries. 200 or 300 years ago, there were all these brilliant minds, Einsteins, that were wasted because they were born in a poor country or in a poor village. Now we have the opportunity to make sure that every brilliant mind counts, and to encourage those people to get up and show us, how can we make it better? How can we do a better job at being human beings? And I think it's very important that we pull together, not just try to push everyone down so you can get up. It's to pull everyone together and push forward together. And that's how you get to the high heights. That's how you really make the pyramid, is you have to have an enormous base, the swell of optimism, and just everybody pushing everyone else to the highest point of education, achievement, and really self-promoting goals.
Wonderful. And I think it's, as we've been saying, this is a very needed message because we're living in the craziest, the most incredible time in our lives, right? They say that human knowledge doubles every 12 hours. And you mentioned in your book about how there was like the period of humanity where the population was at its lowest. And as a
Yeah.
result, we're all kind of descended from that group of people. And there's never been as many people alive at one point in time. But we also have the responsibility, right? Isn't that what Superman said? With great power comes great responsibility. And what you said in there was really helpful to me, of saying to have this environment of optimism,
Mhm.
because it's natural to pursue the negativity, right? There's the lizard brain in us says like, hey, if I leave the cave, I might get eaten by a tiger, I might get struck by lightning, I might fall off a cliff. So my old caveman brain from 100,000 years ago says, I'm looking for what's bad. I'm looking for what's negative. And that worked then, but now we need to like have these new skills, especially of like filtering the negativity. And it's so easy. I mean, you're in Canada, but in the US, you can only imagine I've seen the comparison of the news, right? The news in Canada, they're like, hey, there's new speed bumps on such and such street. And in America, we're like, hey, you're going to die tomorrow unless you watch this news report. And so if you're not careful, then that kind of eats you alive, right? That sort of consumes you. And so we need to be looking at the positive side of humanity and looking at what's hopeful and what's coming for us for the future. And so, as we're kind of wrapping up our conversation here, Todd, out of everything that you learned and seen, do you have anything that has you like really excited about the coming 500, 5,000 years? Like, what about the future is like really cool as far as what you've discovered?
And what I think is going to happen in the next little bit, because as we're building the next now, as we're moving forward, we are we are changing the rules as we go, and we do that through optimism and knowledge. And I think that the next now will be better and better and better. And as long as we all pull together, and I think we are. I know there's a lot of division in this world, but there's also a lot of people who really do try to be good human beings. There are a few human beings that have given up, but we have to understand that they've given up, and it's not because they're bad people. It's just because they've stopped trying. And I think there is enough. There's more than a critical mass of us to move forward, and I think we are going to see a new level of human achievement. There's going to be, we're going to talk about living longer, feeding everybody, not just the rich, just feeding everybody, educating everybody, and living in a world where you can, you know, make yourself into a good person and have a good family. All the things that we've always thought we would do. It is possible. We have enough resources. We have enough energy. We have enough knowledge. All we have to do is share it. And it's not as hard as people think it is. And I think we can do it. And it doesn't have to be done by the elites. It has to be done by everyone. The base is where we need to improve, and that's where we have the most ability to improve. It's the easiest for us to improve. If I'm a rich gazillionaire, me doubling my wealth isn't really possible. It doesn't mean anything. But if you're talking about the broad base of the pyramid of humanity, it's easy to get a doubling out of there. It's easy to get more educated, to have healthier children, to have children who are better educated. And when I say better educated, I mean better educated for them. Not everybody has to have this tight range of intellectual potential. Intellectual potential is very broad, and we have to learn to appreciate that in everyone. And everybody has strengths. Every human being has strengths, and it's when you grab everyone and bring them forward, that's how we improve. And that's the brightness that I see in the future, because there's never been a brighter time, in my opinion, that there's been so many people in this world, the whole world, not just the rich parts of them, the whole world. They're educated, becoming educated, they're being they're becoming well fed, or at least trying. We're moving in that direction. People are talking about, climate issues, which we should have been talking about 20 years ago, but we're talking about them now, and that's good. And the solutions for all these issues, these climate change issues, they're going to come from us. They're going to come from the base, and it will come through knowledge, understanding, and acceptance. And I think that is what I see. I've never seen people who are, and I'm talking about the young people that are out there right now. They're very educated. They're accepting. They're well read. They and maybe not books. They don't read as many books as they should, but at least they're reading something in podcasts and audiobooks. They know things, and they also know how to use technology. Chat PT. It's not just this thing that allows them to cheat, in homework or essays and things like that. It'll also tell them about things, and they can educate themselves. They can ask questions, and they can ask questions in a way that they'll understand the answers. And that kind of power was going to bring humanity to the next level. And I think we're very close. And to me, it's exciting because we do it step by step. We do it now by now. We're living in the now, but we're building the next now. Tomorrow's a new day, and it's built on today. Today is the blueprint for tomorrow. And as we make changes, as we promote and make improvements to the blueprint that is tomorrow, it just gets better and better. And as more of us join hands and push forward with this idea and this mentality, the better it'll be for everyone.
Well, I love the way that your mind works. I love your mindset here, Todd. And I think that we could all use a dose of that to have these better habits and to have this curiosity and the embracing of more than just your own selfishness, but of helping out your fellow man and your planet and everything that goes with that. And people's minds are going to be blown when they check out right now the Book of Odd, a new perspective for this reality, because there's so much in there, right? There's so much about the Big Bang, or when life began on Earth. As far as we can tell, it's only happened once, and then all life after that is all like related from then on. And these ideas like water is transparent, and if it wasn't, then like life just couldn't exist. And there's all these little facets that it doesn't, there's no way to fit in a whole instruction manual on life and everything else, but there's enough to just have like a narrative to kind of just make us think, to break us out of our own box, our own shell, have a new perspective, have a new outlook, and then be a little bit more well-informed moving forward into the next now. And so as far as sending people over to that book, right now, the Book of Odd, A New Perspective for This Reality by Todd LeBlanc, is there anything I left out, or is there any like final push to say to someone who's like, well, should I get the book? Or should I be one of the 11 people at the book fair to go and get it? Like, what do we say for one last big push?
Well, I'm going to be completely counter to this. What I'm going to say is, what's most important is you ask your own questions. And that's what the book was meant to. I wrote this book to satisfy my questions. And I wrote this book to share it with other people, and hopefully to inspire people to find their own questions and to ask big questions, not to be satisfied with small answers. And you don't have to buy my book to do that. But if you need a little help, this is where it would be. And I really wanted to show people how if I could do it, anyone could do it. And I wanted to show people the very basics of understanding of this absurd universe, and give them a little taste of knowledge. And hopefully that makes them go forward. And if they choose to buy my book, that's up to them. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to share the quest, to share the thirst of questions, to ask your own questions. Don't be satisfied with other people's answers. Find your own questions and find your own answers. And whatever brings people to that conclusion, I'm happy with it. If it's through my book, that'd be great. If it's through some other means, that's also great. As long as you ask questions and fulfill that desire to learn and to be a better person, I'm happy.
Very nice. So we need to ask our own questions, find our own answers, and leads to new questions, and it gets us more mentally fit, right? They say that especially in the later years, you need to be doing the crossword puzzles, right? You need to be kind of working the mind, and but it can even happen at an earlier age. So don't let your brain atrophy. Don't let the muscle get weak. Keep on staying curious and asking these questions and looking to improve yourself and your humanity. Right now, the Book of Odd, A New Perspective for This Reality by Todd LeBlanc. And then as we are wrapping up our conversation here, Todd, it's time to stump you a little bit, put you on the spot. I like to ask
Okay.
my guests for a fun quote or lesson that maybe has been given to them or they've discovered that they want to then pass on to us. So you're this man of science. What comes to mind for you as far as a fun quote or lesson?
Well, I guess my favorite quote, and it sort of sums up what I thought was very, very important to this book. Knowledge or information is our foundation of our reality, but love is its purpose. And I think that's what really is important to me, that love is the purpose of humanity. And that's what it is. It's not about money or anything. It's learning to love your neighbors and really sharing and appreciating each other. Uh, and really pushing each other, allowing each other to grow and to really show how amazing each of us are. And we are all quite beautiful. And I think we need to appreciate it. So my favorite quote is, uh, knowledge is fundamental. Love is its purpose.
I
So
love it. And what you said in there was share, appreciate, push, and grow. And I
yes,
think that's very helpful. And I think that's we could all use a little bit of that advice as we check out right now the Book of On, A New Perspective for This Reality. Thank you, Mr. Todd LeBlanc, for being open and sharing with us, giving us some cool ideas. I really appreciate it.
thank you and have a great day. And I thank you again, Robert. You're amazing.